Good evening and welcome. I am Amarachi Ubani. Tonight, Senate passes Petroleum Industry Governance Bill, the first of a three-part petroleum industry bill. Acting EFCC Chairman Ibrahim Magu restates commitment to war on corruption, vows to bring all corrupt officials to justice in 12 months. Two courts issue conflicting judgments over continued detention of Capital Oil boss Ifeanyi Ubah. And U.S. President Donald Trump condemns leaks of Manchester attack investigation to U.S. media, describes them as grave threats to American security.
On business news tonight, federal government offers reassurances of Nigeria's economy exiting recession in 2017.
While on sports news, the Channel's International Kids Cup trophy up for grabs as African Church Primary School locks horns with Buhari Nuruddin from Kwara State in the final at Campus Square on Children's Day.
And from Abuja, National Economic Council approves 2 billion naira compensation for 19 states from Ecological Fund.
We begin tonight with what is being described as a major step that could change the nation's oil and gas industry for the better. This follows the passing of the Petroleum Industry Governance Bill, which is part of the Petroleum Industry Bill. This is the first time the critical legislation has reached this stage in the Senate. When signed into law, the bill is expected to stimulate Nigeria's oil and gas sector, as well as reduce corruption in the sector. Our correspondent, Linda Kigbe, reports.
To my colleague,
The Petroleum Industry Bill, PIB, has scaled its first major hurdle in the 8th Senate. The Senate has passed the first part of the PIB, which is the Petroleum Industry Governance Bill, PIGB.
A bill for an act to provide for the governance and institutional framework for the petroleum industry and for other related matters, 2017, third reading taken. The bill is now read and passed.
The upper chamber divided the PIB into 3 parts to make for an easier passage. The Petroleum Industry Governance Bill is expected to create a conducive business environment for petroleum operations, enhance exploration of petroleum resources for the benefit of Nigerians, optimize domestic gas supplies, establish profit-driven oil entities, and create efficient and effective regulatory agencies in the petroleum sector.
To create efficient and effective governing institutions with clear and separate roles for the petroleum industry.
The key components of the Petroleum Industry Governance Bill are restructuring the NNPC by splitting the assets and liabilities of the NNPC into 2 new commercial entities, namely the National Petroleum Company and the Nigeria Petroleum Asset Management Company. Establishment of the Nigeria Petroleum Regulatory Commission. This commission shall ensure compliance with all applicable laws and regulations governing the petroleum industry. The PIGB also provides for the incorporation of the Nigeria Petroleum Liabilities Management Company to hold assets including shares in the Nigeria Petroleum Assets Management Company and the National Petroleum Company on behalf of the federal government. In addition, the PIGB also establishes a Petroleum Equalization Fund, which is expected to ensure efficient distribution of petroleum products throughout the Federation. For federal lawmakers, the passage of the PIGB is a major achievement.
now by the governance bill, now we have created entities that are going to manage, critical aspects of the oil industry and who are relatively, independent. We have separated the minister, and give him his roles. We have separated so many things.
And one of the key things is that the president cannot remove any of the commissioners by the time you look at it without the approval of the National Assembly. So it creates that independence on the part of the commission to regulate the industry.
There are two more parts of the PIB left to be passed, namely the Petroleum Industry Fiscal Bill and the Host Community Development Bill. However, none of these bills, including the PIGB, can become law without the House of Representatives also passing the bills. Linda Akibi, Channels Television News.
Don't dare me. That appears to be the warning coming from the acting chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Mr. Ibrahim Magu, who's vowed to bring all corrupt officials to book. He told journalists in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, that he remains committed in the fight against corruption despite the resistance from some quarters. He was speaking at the inauguration of the Southwest Zonal Office of the EFCC.
Some people are celebrating corruption and even saying that we should not punish corruption. And I'm happy to tell you that they have failed. They have failed in their master plan to frustrate us. We will never be frustrated. And the fight has just started. And we'll do it to the last. We'll get them out. Just give me 12 months. You will not see them again. And we are going to sensitize our target. One of our target is going to be the youth. We target the youth, we will sensitize them, and I'm telling you, if you are thinking of being corrupt tomorrow, just forget it, because it will not pay again.
Back in the nation's capital, the acting president, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, has underscored the need for Nigerian leaders to give the younger generation a vision on a pathway to unity and diversity. Professor Osinbajo, who delivered the keynote address at an event to examine Nigeria's development 50 years after the Nigerian Biafra Civil War, said Nigerians should think more of what unites them than what separates them. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo also used the platform to call for dialogue with any group dissatisfied with the state of the Nigerian nation.
I believe that there's no substitute for us holding Nigeria and massaging it as we massage love. There's no alternative. And I would say that we should even appeal if anybody says he wants to go. Not that you can go if you want to go. Don't go. There's enough in the cake for each and every one of us to have. And if what you are asking for is more of the cake, then ask for it in a way that is pleasant, not in a way that will make others feel that you are not entitled to what you are asking for.
The promise of our Constitution, which we have sworn to uphold, is that we would ensure a secure and safe environment for our people to live and work in peace, that we will provide just and fair institutions, that we will not permit or encourage discrimination on the grounds of race, gender, beliefs, or other parochial considerations, that we will build a nation where no one is oppressed and where no one is left behind. These are the standards to which we must hold our leadership. We must not permit our leaders the easy but dangerous rhetoric of blaming our social and economic conditions on our coming together. It is their duty, and I speak to myself, our duty, to give us a vision, a pathway to make our unity in diversity even more perfect.
As the debate on the national question continues, restructuring, true federalism and resource control dominated discussions at the forum in Abuja in honor of elder statesman Edwin Clark, who has clocked 90 years. Leading the discussion, former Minister of Foreign Affairs, General Ike Nwachukwu, said that selfishness has kept Nigeria at her current state of development. Other participants also preferred solutions to the lingering issue of Nigeria's unity.
This is a national discourse to mark the 90th birthday of the First Republic National Commissioner for Information, Chief Edwin Clark. Prominent Nigerians, irrespective of their tribe and religion, gathered to discuss restructuring, true federalism, and resource control.
Restructuring, true federalism, and resource control are imperatives for enduring peace and sustainable development in Nigeria. And this fact can be appreciated if we shed all of our doubts, fears, suspicions, and misconceptions, and accept resource control on which federalism is anchored as a developmental philosophy.
The campaign for restructuring is to create co-prosperity across Nigeria so that we go under our soil. Every section of Nigeria will take what is there and agree what we need to put at the center to run the common little services we are going to give to Abuja. Not the kind of place where we said we have somebody from Abuja, instead I'm Federal Minister of Works, I'm in charge of all roads in Nigeria, I'm agriculture, I am this, I'm the rest. We don't need that for the center. These functions should go to the federal units.
Restructuring our country properly and correctly handled will move Nigeria from a dream to reality, from inertia to full flight, from despair to hope.
However, there are suggestions that Nigerians must be honest to themselves and demand for accountability from their leaders.
And until we Nigerians will really shine our eyes and say, yes, enough is enough. So as far as we are concerned, our leaders must lead. Else is this, other than protectionist people are trying to protect themselves or protect their country. And this is why Nigerians have failed over the years. And that's why today, 50 to 60 years after independence, this country cannot go to 4,000 megawatts of electricity.
The conclusion here is that almost 60 years after Nigeria's independence, the level of development is disappointing, and steps must be taken to reverse the situation.
To the judiciary now, the courts today gave two conflicting judgments in respect of detained businessman and chairman of the Capital Oil and Gas, Ifeanyi Ubah, while the Federal High Court in Lagos ordered the Department of State Services to either charge him to court or release him within 48 hours. An FCT High Court granted an ex parte application by the DSS to further keep him in detention for another 14 days. The DSS had arrested the businessman over allegations of economic sabotage and alleged diversion of petroleum products to the tune of 11 billion naira. Our judiciary correspondent Shola Shiele has the report.
A large crowd comprising family, friends and members of staff of Capital Oil and Gas Limited stormed the Federal High Court Lagos in anticipation of the judgment to a suit filed by the businessman Ifeanyi Ubah to challenge his detention by the Department of State Services, DSS. The DSS, in statements put before the court, says it arrested the businessman over claims made by the NNPC and AMCON alleging economic sabotage and diversion of petroleum products stored in his tank farm. The value of the petroleum products was put at 11 billion naira. Lawyers to the DSS declined to speak on camera, but lawyers to Capital Oil say a thorough put agreement between the company and the NNPC allows for conversion and diversion of the products by the operator, so long as he's prepared to redeliver the products within 7 days of demand or to pay a penalty for defaults. They also say that the default should have been treated as a debt, which could well have been paid from an alleged debt owed the businessman by the NNPC.
In the affidavits we have filed, we have shown that there is no such debt. In fact, it is the NNPC that is owing Capital Oil and Dr. Ubah amounts in excess of 10 billion naira and $8 million US.
In the judgment to enforce his fundamental rights, Justice Mohammed Idris ordered the DSS to charge the businessman to court within 48 hours or release him unconditionally. Justice Idris also held that Mr. Ubah's detention without charge violates his rights to move freely. The Attorney General of the Federation, Mr. Abubakar Malami, was directed to ensure strict and due compliance with the judgment. But minutes after this judgment was delivered, an Abuja FCT High Court granted an extension for the detention of Mr. Ubah for another 14 days after listening to an ex parte application from the DSS. The security agency says the order was necessary pending the conclusion of its investigation into the allegations against him. Lawyers to the businessman, however, say that his detention cannot be in perpetuity and the DSS risks being in contempt of court if it fails to release Mr. Ubah.
There is no contradiction between the judgment of the court here and the order made in Abuja. And the reason is this: the Constitution says that within 48 hours, you should take any person that you have a reasonable suspicion that he has committed a crime, you should take that person to court. That is what the court have emphasized here. Take him to court.
Meanwhile, members of staff of Capital Oil and Gas have cried out to the government to ensure the release of their chairman so as to save the jobs of over 2,000 workers. Shola Shoyeli, Channels Television News.